Good morning, everyone. And Rik Deitsch, our favorite biochemist, you've done it again. We're having a new product, and so excited about that. A lot of our family were using an energy shot before, and I'm sure this is going to be even better. I think one of the things that's really interesting is you just get on the market and look around, go to stores. It's just huge. I can't believe how many people like energy drinks. And I think this is going to be absolutely amazing. Probably a little bit less sugar, like none. Real stuff instead of chemicals. So go ahead and talk about the rationale behind all of this and adaptogens and all that really cool stuff that's going to be in this.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, for having me, giving me the opportunity. So, yeah, is officially put up tomorrow. We'll be shipping on Monday. But when we talk about energy drinks, I want to warn people. A lot of people say they lack energy, and a lot of that has to do with poor diet, sedentary lifestyle. So I always want to start with the fact that even the word supplementation means supplemental to a healthful diet and exercise. So as everybody joins us, as we get more and more educated, I want to make sure you know that we're here to give advice, to talk about how our products are useful, but certainly want to make sure you're living a healthier lifestyle. So that's especially we have the fiber, we have the immunity mushrooms, we have the anti-inflammatories, we have things that can allow you to be more active, to be more physical, to eat a healthier diet. That's the first thing. If you're getting enough sleep, if you're eating a healthy diet, you're going to have natural energy. But then we want to talk about how to get that extra boost, how to have a little bit more energy, to be a little bit more active, but also to have focus. So when you are active, you're going to be able to think clearly, and that's part of it too. I also wanted to avoid sugar. I remember years ago at another company, they launched a product called Herbal Voltage. And they specifically launched it when I was traveling in Asia because they knew I'd complain about it. This is a company that had hundreds and hundreds of products, but it had 32 grams of sugar per dose. I mean, that's a lot of sugar, you know? So I said, no, if you're gonna have an energy drink, the energy can't be part and parcel because of sugar. Okay. We want to look at ways to get the body to utilize its own energy and to increase what's called locomotion. In biochemistry, we call it locomotion. How do we get metabolism moving in such a way that's beneficial and not negative? And so that's what we did. That's the rationale for this energy drink. Oh, you're muted.
I was just kind of thinking some years ago, there was a product called Jolt, and the trademark or the slang for it was all the sugar and twice the caffeine.
Jolt Cola, I remember that. Yeah, but Mountain Dew is just, Mountain Dew has the most caffeine of like any soft drink. And caffeine itself is not bad. Small amounts of caffeine. In fact, there's been lots of research over the last few years that caffeine can actually improve neural conduction, improve cognitive function, and delay or offset the risk of certain tauopathies and neurofibrillary tangles. So there were studies published in Parkinson's and Alzheimer's that show how caffeine reduces the risk of those etiologies. So a little bit of caffeine is okay. A lot of caffeine can be dangerous, just like any alkaloid. So let's talk about that for a second. What is an alkaloid? Because a lot of people don't understand this. And when I was working with the flavor people for this particular product, it all came down to how do you make an alkaloid taste good. So an alkaloid is a plant-derived nitrogen-containing compound that's specifically made by the plant to defend it. It is a poison, a toxin created by the plant so that things that try to eat the plant will get sick. Okay. And you know what it's an alkaloid because the name of all alkaloids ends with "ene" or "ane." So nicotine, caffeine, heroin, quinine, strychnine, all these things that end with an "ene" or an "ane, that's an alkaloid. Okay. So it's actually made by a plant to be toxic to things eating the plant. But in humans, because of our physiology, when you have small amounts of an alkaloid, it can actually be beneficial. In some cases, it can be therapeutic. In some cases, we use them for drugs, quinine. is used as a drug for the prevention of malaria. And of course, we know about nicotine and caffeine and things like that. So the problem, though, is that we've also evolved where things that are toxic taste bitter. That's it. When something tastes bitter, that's an indication to us that it's toxic in some way, shape, or form. So caffeine always tastes bitter, and that's why you have to do something in coffee to try to make it taste good. But again, you don't want a huge dose of an alkaloid. You want a little dose of an alkaloid that's going to give you energy and locomotion, but you also have a bitter flavor to contend with, which is always the case. So for this particular product, we wanted the locomotion of that alkaloid, of caffeine, but we didn't want to get it from coffee because it's extra bitter in coffee. So we use guarana. Guarana is a natural herb that's high in caffeine. We use a guarana extract that's 22% caffeine. And then in every shot, there's about 125 milligrams of caffeine, which is about the same amount of caffeine that's in a soft drink, a single soft drink, or a cup of coffee. So that can tell you exactly how much is in there. Now, one of the other problems with that caffeine activation, that locomotion, is the concept of loss of focus or jitteriness. And so some people get what they call caffeine jags. If they drink a few cups of coffee, they're shaky. So we actually added the amino acid L-theanine. And L-theanine is a calming amino acid that prevents that activity while promoting focus. So the L-theanine prevents you from being jittery, but also gives you focus. So that's the way we get the caffeine to work. But you mentioned at the very beginning, the first thing you talked about was the word adaptogen. And that's the magic of this particular product. It's the adaptogenic herbs that we've added to it, the rhodiola and schizandra. And that particular combination is called ADX7. And the research in ADX7 goes all the way back to the 1980s, late 70s and early 80s. And this is, you hate to say it, but if anyone ever saw, it was Rocky IV with the Russian boxer Drago, and they show how the Russians train their athletes, and they have them all Russian labs. Well, was a Russian lab that said, okay, what can we give these people? What can we give these athletes to improve performance, improve focus, improve energy, but not be an illegal substance, a drug that would trigger a banned substance, in whether say the IOC, International Olympic Committee banned substance. So nothing that would get these people disqualified, but give them everything they need to be able to perform. And the greatest research was done on adaptogens. So what is an adaptogen? I said this in conference for people that were there. I went to Darren Sliva, who's twice my size, and I went, boo. And what happens? It doesn't matter how big you are, how tough you think you are. If someone sneaks up behind you and goes, boo, what happens? Okay. So from your perspective, you jump, go like this, you get all twitchy and jittery. But that whole thing is called the fight or flight reaction. When you get scared, your body has to create energy so you can either turn around and fight or turn around and run away. That's the flight or fight reaction. It's also called the sympathetic nervous system reaction. It's sympathetic to fear or danger. Now, what happens there is your muscles tighten up. There's a huge influx of ions into the muscles to tighten them up. There's a big spike in the use of phosphocreatine. Your heart rate speeds up a little bit. Your blood pressure comes up a little bit. Everything tightens up. It's actually 41 separate reactions in that cascade, and they're all triggered by the release of less than 1 microgram of adrenaline. Isn't that fascinating? That's biochemistry. Okay, all that happens, and all happens in less than 100 microseconds, which I got to tell you, in biochemistry terms, 100 microseconds is a very long time, but in our perception, it's instant. I used to do molecular dynamic simulations of molecules, and my entire simulation was 50 picoseconds. Okay, so if you look at thousands of a second, 1,000 seconds is a microsecond, the millionth is a millisecond, then it's nano, pico, femto. Okay, so we would do 1 femtosecond pictures of a 50 picosecond run. And you saw the molecules do all sorts of stuff in 50 picoseconds, which is forever biochemically, it's forever in the micro world, but it's an instant in the way we perceive time. Okay, so it's amazing how fast things can happen to the body, and we think it's really fast. It really is a very long time as far as the body is concerned. I also talk just to talk about time. I one of the first venomous animals I worked with before I worked with cobra venom was cone snail venom, and there's a venom from the Conus perspirescens, the purple cone, and it's used as a neuroblocker. It's actually a paralytic agent, and the army uses it. And it was even in the movie Jurassic Park. They had blowgun darts, and they had that Conus toxin on it. And the statement was that if I blow this dart into a victim, they will be paralyzed before their nervous system registers that they felt the dart hit their skin. So the paralytic agent is actually faster than the signal from the nerve to the brain that says, I just got shot. And that tells you how fast the body works. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm talking about the sympathetic nervous system, sympathetic to fear or danger. And so adaptogens are adaptogenic to fear or stress. And what they do is anytime the sympathetic nervous system is going to spike up, it lowers that. Every time the sympathetic nervous system is going to turn off, it turns it on. So it keeps you at this level of energy and focus. It modulates that sympathetic. It adapts to both sedentary and to stress. And it's fascinating how these adaptogens work to kind of balance that nervous system to put you at your peak. So even at times of lull, it's raising you up. At times of stress, it's bringing you down. So it keeps you focused and fit and energetic without any other stimulus. So the original drink we made in 2002 was called Jugular. And that was no caffeine, no sugar. It was just the adaptogens. And it was a wonderful product, but some people complained that they needed more energy out of that. So in that case, that's why in this case, we've added the stimulant caffeine from guarana, along with the L-theanine to reduce any of the negatives of the guarana. And again, like you mentioned, it's naturally sweetened. We have natural sweeteners along with sorbitol, which is a natural sugar alcohol, which is a 0-calorie sweetener. We are using an orange flavor, and I think I told people at conference the reason it's orange and everyone's kind of sick of orange is that's what I've got. I've got a lot of orange flavor. I use the orange, the natural dried orange we use for the fiber, the liquid orange we use for the plus relief. So we're using that same orange flavor for this product. It doesn't mean that if we're incredibly successful, we couldn't have additional flavors down the road. And people have asked that for the fiber too. So remember, we just launched last week. You know, from May 1st to now is pre-launch. We just launched last week, and we've got, over 1,000 distributors. We've got people that are very, very happy and active in using our products. But let's see how these products do. As we grow, we can always launch additional flavors of the fiber and of the energy drink, of the plus energy. But that's basically how it works. It's incredibly safe for everyone to use. Because there's 125 milligrams of caffeine, we don't recommend using more than 3 a day. Just think how many cups of coffee would you normally drink in a day, or how many soft drinks you'd have in a day, and know that that's probably your caffeine tolerance. And so I think most people this is the sort of product that they're going to use in the afternoon, maybe to get a little jolt for the rest of the day, maybe at night to get 3 to 4 to 5 more hours of energy. It is going to be similar in effect to like a 5-hour energy shot. So you're going to get it, you're going to be focused and clear. But the difference is because of this particular formulation, there will not be a crash. So you're going to have that energy. It's going to be stable. You're never going to have that fall off where you lose energy, you're exhausted. Okay. It's just going to peak you, and you're going to be at your peak for several hours after using the product.
Interesting. I was visiting with a guy that does formulation, and he said most of the products out there, they use synthetic caffeine. It's just more uniform and gives more bounce than naturally derived caffeine. Maybe associated factors in guarana or something like that. Any comments on natural versus chemical caffeine?
Yeah, I've had this argument over and over again where most people say it's synthetic, it's bad if it's a synthetic product. And I try to say a molecule is a molecule is a molecule. If I have a molecule of vitamin C that I made in the lab, ascorbic acid, and I have a molecule of vitamin C I get from an orange, it's still the same thing and the same effect in the body. But when you extract vitamin C from an orange, you also get citrus bioflavonoids, chaperone compounds that actually help the absorption of that vitamin C and the function of that vitamin C. And same thing in things like the guarana. So you're getting better absorption because you have chaperone compounds that come with the caffeine. So it's going to be better absorption. It's going to absorb, it's going to give you a little more time. You're not going to get a peak. Like if you just take the caffeine, it's going to come in really quick. And you're going to get this really big spike and then a crash. When you use natural sources of caffeine like guarana, you're going to get a slower absorption, a better absorption. You're going to absorb much more of it, and it's going to last a lot longer because of the chaperone compounds.
That's fantastic. Could you talk a little bit more about adaptogens, just what they do, and versus, say, a stimulant and long-term use of adaptogens? Do you start tolerating it, or does it just always work and your body likes it and you're just at a new level of function?
No, that's a good point. So there's a bunch of things that adaptogens have been found to do, and even this particular ADX7 adaptogenic blend. The first thing is spiking of phosphocreatine, and this is where you got to start thinking about how your muscles work. So when you're going to make a muscle, like even my finger, I'm going to twitch my finger. The first thing that sends that muscle contracting is phosphocreatine. It's phosphorylated creatine that goes to the muscle and forces it to start to move. It's kind of like if you've ever moved a heavy piece of furniture, that first push, what they say to overcome what they call frictional force, that first push, you have to put a lot into it. But once it's moving, it's pretty easy. You're moving it along, right? So same thing with your muscles. That first twitch is the use of phosphocreatine. That's that first push. And then it uses muscle glycogen, which is the carbohydrate stores inside the muscle, to keep the muscle moving. And what adaptogens do is two things in that case, is they actually help create the phosphocreatine for storage. So it gives you that fast twitch response, but it also helps your body stabilize and hold more muscle glycogen as part of the glycogen synthesis process. So your muscles can hold more energy, more fuel, so the muscles can work longer and harder and not build lactic acid. Because once the glycogen starts to leave the muscle, once it's used up, it starts to produce lactic acid. Lactic acid is your body's way of saying slow down. And that's what makes you feel sluggish and sore and things like that. So you're going to have less lactic acid. You're going to be able to work out longer, and you're going to be able to have better performance when you work out. The other thing is nitrogen balance. So we need nitrogen to make amino acids, which make protein, which make our muscles. And we have a whole balance in the body of nitrogen and how we take nitrogen out to form urea and pull that nitrogen out of the body, because too much nitrogen can be dangerous. And so the whole idea is to have a balance of nitrogen. And what the adaptogens do is part of their activity is take that nitrogen balance, which is usually at a certain level, and bring it up a little bit. So your body can have more nitrogen to make more proteins, more amino acids, more proteins safely without having the issues of kidney issues or anything like that. So it actually raises that nitrogen balance and makes it more efficient. So those are the basic ways that it improves the muscles and improves the body's functioning, especially at times of stress. The side effect of that, and not a direct mechanism, but a side effect, is that cortisol production comes down. And cortisol is our stressor hormone. Cortisol goes up, we feel anxiety, we actually build fat. So as cortisol comes up, we're actually storing fat. So if you can lower the cortisol, it lowers inflammation, it lowers the fat production, and allows us to use energy more efficiently. And that's just a side effect of all the other good that the adaptogens are doing. And then lastly, you asked about over time. No, your body does not get used to adaptogens. It doesn't grow resistant to adaptogens. Adaptogens will work the same way all the time as long as you're taking them. They're not stored in the body. So as you use them, they're used up in that time that they're in your body and doing all the good they can do in those 5 hours, 6 hours after you use the product.
All right. Appreciate that. Okay. Question. Someone has a pacemaker, heart problems. They're told not to do caffeine. any possibility of a future product kind of like your jugular that
Yeah, I
just
guess, I talked to Neil and the guys about doing a caffeine free. I remember the jugular product, we were taking on Red Bull. So our tagline was all of the energy, none of the bull. And I kind of like that. So as we work with this stuff, we'll probably have a stimulant free or caffeine free version. Now with the pacemaker, it's kind of interesting because the pacemaker itself is regulating the pace of the heart. So it's certainly not recommended to take a lot of stimulants with people in pacemakers, but it's not. I've known plenty of people in pacemakers that have had a cup of coffee. So certainly that's something that they can discuss with their physician. I don't see that this will be a problem.
okay, great. Everyone, we got quite a few people here. If someone has a question they want to type in, we're here. So Bonnie says, very interested in caffeine free for me and some of my Avini associates. So it looks like we have a market for that.
I'm on the wrong thing. I'm on the chat. I got to go to Q&A.
Yeah.
I'm used to the chat. Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about potentially having a caffeine-free version. Yeah, and understand this. One of the things we talked about is that Avini products should be different. All these people say, why don't we have a men's formula multivitamin, a woman's formula multivitamin? And I've said this before, I don't want products that are easily found at Walmart or GNC. Our product should be unique, and I don't mind telling you, go get a multivitamin, go get a B complex. We talked about that in the conference. If it's something you could easily buy at Walmart that's going to supplement your health, that's great. But what we have at Avini is stuff that can't be found anywhere else. That's got to be really, really unique to us. I don't want to be that company that tries to be everything to everyone. So as you said, some of the people that came from former companies that are part of Avini now, fiber was part of our DNA. And so let's have the best fiber. And an energy shot was something they had and they enjoyed. So I said, okay, this is something this group of distributors is used to. It opens up a market for them. We're going to have the best energy shot anyone's ever had. So some of the other things we're talking about are more specific to the zeolite, and that's something else. This is the only energy shot in the world that has my micronized activated zeolite in it. So again, that helps shuttle things around. It helps keep things in circulation longer, and it's detoxifying as well. So there's zeolite in 100 milligrams zeolite per shot per 2-ounce bottle.
How interesting. So I guess that's something you want to give it a bit of a shake before you down
it says shake well before using, because you're right, because it is a colloidal suspension, so it does fall out. So shake well. It says it right on the label, shake well before using. So that's something that also makes it completely different. And that's something we want to be very clear about. The tip of the arrow for Avini is my micronized activated zeolite. And so as much as possible, every one of our products is going to be synergistic with the zeolite and probably have the zeolite in it if possible. And we talked about zeolite personal care products. I've worked on a shampoo, a toothpaste, a mineral mask, a body scrub. So there's all sorts of personal care products we can have. And then we heard from Dr. Lonkey at the conference about adaptogens and how detoxing can actually help with weight loss. Will we look in the future for very high-end zeolite-based weight loss products? And that's something we will probably look forward to in the future. So as we grow as a company, we're going to have more and more of these incredibly unique products.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So someone talked about tannic acid. There's a lot of things in coffee, especially bitter components of coffee, that if you talk about danger, the harm is usually digestive. A lot of stuff can relax the sphincter above the stomach and cause acid reflux, which will eventually, left untreated, can cause Barrett's esophageal and even esophageal cancer. So someone that does have acid reflux, they tell you a lot of times don't take caffeine because caffeine reduces the sphincter, but it's actually tannins and other things in the coffee that relax that sphincter. So the caffeine itself is not causing the acid reflux or relaxing the sphincter. It's other compounds like the tannins. So that can increase acidity. Sorbitol, someone asked, is sorbitol safe? So sorbitol is a sugar alcohol, much like xylitol and mannitol and things like that. So there's sweeteners that are about as sweet as sugar, but 0 calories. And yes, they're considered completely safe. If there's any studies that talk about sugar alcohols being unsafe, principally those are what we call behavior studies. A lot of people believe that it's dangerous to teach our bodies to like sweet things. Okay, so this is where we talk about behavior. So we teach our bodies to like sweet things, so we crave sweet things. So when we have an opportunity to eat sweet things, we do. And some of those sweet things just have a lot of sugar in them, or other things like that that could be unhealthy, sugar and fat and things like that. So we talk about chocolate. Dark chocolate is incredibly healthy for you, but we add sugar and fat to it. And the sugar and fat is not healthy. So when we think it's chocolate is something bad, that's because of the sugar and the fat. So my thing is this, we don't have to teach people to like sweet things. We like sweet things. It's hard to teach us to not like sweet things, which is why, there's an herb called Gymnema sylvestre, if you've ever heard of it. It's a really weird compound in Gymnema sylvestre that turns the sweet receptors in our tongue to bitter. So sweet things taste bad. So it's a behavioral product for diabetics that when they eat sweet things, they taste terrible and they stop eating sweet things because of the Gymnema sylvestre. So that's, again, behaviors. How can we teach ourselves to not like sweet things so we avoid them? I'm more of the opinion that we're intelligent people that can choose to eat properly if we want to. So that's the only issue with sugar alcohols, is anytime you've read articles about them, it's going to say it teaches you to like sweet things, so avoid it because you shouldn't be eating sweet things. But we like sweet things, so let's eat sweet things that won't hurt us, is my contention. All right, what else? Other reducing cortisol, what are the weight loss components of the energy product? So it does raise core body temperatures, thermogenic. So most stimulants do that. Most stimulants will raise your core body temperature. One of the things you have to do to burn fat is raise your core body temperature. That's why you go to the gym, you go to the sauna, you go whatever you can. And you mistakenly think it's because you're sweating it out. You're not sweating it out. Your body is hotter. When your body is hotter, it's burning fat. It's actually using that fat as even the term calorie is a measurement of heat. I don't know if you guys know that. When you look at a calorie, that's how much heat is necessary to burn that. That's what calorie means. And we have calorimeters, or bomb calorimeters, which are literally boxes where you explode things inside the box and see how much heat is generated. That's how you tell how much calories something is. It's a bomb calorimeter. It's a little micro explosion that tells you how much heat can be generated. And so, yeah, we need the heat to burn fat. And the whole idea is to become thermogenic, raise that core body temperature in a safe, effective way so you can burn fat more easily. This is another reason that swimming is such a bad exercise for burning fat, because the water spreads out your body heat. It makes it harder to raise your core body temperature. So swimming is great exercise, don't get me wrong, but it's not a good exercise to burn fat because it becomes harder and harder to burn fat. So that is the primary thing the energy product is going to do to help with weight loss. But we don't really market this as a weight loss product. This is for focus and energy. So the whole idea is to be clear and focused. And weight loss is, if you're using it once or twice a day, it should aid in weight loss, but that's not a primary claim. Okay. Okay, so someone asked this, and I've answered this question a lot. Customer noticed the micronized activates the immunity. They said that there's cell defender would be better to take detox and cell defender. And I try to tell you there's a difference in that zeolite. So when we make the cell defender, we're micronizing the zeolite to submicron, where our smallest particles are actually smaller than 400 nanometers, or less than 0.4 microns. So the point of the cell defender is to get that zeolite in your body to be systemic, to go all over the body and work its magic. We use, for the powdered products, we use something called first pass micronization. So we're not making it that small. Our average particle size is certainly less than 10 microns, it's probably closer to about 5 microns. But it's bigger, so we leave it as a powder. When we do the true micronization for the zeolite, it's so fine, we can't leave it as a powder. Just working with it, if you've ever had like a powder puff and you get like talc and you breathe on it, goes poosh, it's gone. It's in the air, it's gone. That's how fine the truly micronized zeolite is. That's why when we micronize, it goes right into ultra purified water, because we lose most of it in manufacturing if we didn't put it in water. And that's one of the reasons we put it in water, so we don't lose all the powder. It's so fine and would go right into the air and it would be gone. Okay. Brownian motion would just take it away. And so the first pass micronization is what we use in the fiber. It's in the fiber, it's in the Z-Immunity, and it's in the energy shot. It's in the Plus Energy. In fact, the only current product we have that doesn't have the zeolite in it is the Plus Relief, because that was a completely separate market for pain and inflammation. Now, the point of the zeolite and those other products, the zeolite itself does act as a preservative. It does act as an antioxidant, but its primary use when you take any of these products is going to be gut detoxification and nutrient absorption. It was found in these giant animal studies when, and I've talked about this when I first launched the Cell Defender, and this is in my master class. They were concerned. Farmers that were feeding zeolite to animals were concerned that it might pull good stuff out with the bad, because they know that it's negatively charged mineral. It could take out calcium or magnesium or things the animals need. And so they were giving it to the animals primarily to prevent aflatoxicosis, which is poisoning from certain fungus like Aspergillus parasiticus and Aspergillus flavus that could be in their animal feed and cause liver dysfunction in the animals. And they found that the zeolite greatly reduced incidences of aflatoxicosis and preserved the liver. So that was a good thing. And they knew it also took out heavy metals and toxins, but would it take out the good stuff? So there was a series of very large studies done in the 70s and the 80s. And the finding was fascinating, because not only did it not remove the good nutrients, but the animals that had the zeolite had higher nutritional status than the ones that didn't. So as it was pulling out the heavy metals and toxins, it actually became a nutritional enabler to allow the animals to better take up the good nutrition. And that's simply because of lack of competition. When you have a calcium that's competing for absorption with lead and you remove the lead, now the calcium gets in. Okay. When you have arsenic competing for zinc and you remove the arsenic, the zinc gets in. So it becomes a nutritional enabler by pulling out those toxins and competitive metals and even volatile organic compounds. And so that's part of why we put the zeolite in the fiber. We put it in the Z-Immunity, because it becomes a nutritional enabler. You get better value from those supplements because of the zeolite content. It does not replace the Cell Defender as a systemic detoxifier. Okay.
And just along that idea, if you took the fiber 15 minutes before your meals, could that not only smooth blood sugar, but maybe a nutritional facilitator as well on your food? Or
yeah, that's exactly what I talk about when we talk about the fiber. The best time to take the fiber is 10 to 15 minutes before you eat, because the fiber goes in the gut churns it and churns it and churns it and forms this ball of fiber, this gel fiber matrix, which as a whole piece moves into your intestinal tract. Your bile salts and bile acids go in to help break down your food. They get trapped in the gel fiber matrix, so they're not reabsorbed to make cholesterol, so your cholesterol goes down. Your food is also trapped, but your food doesn't like the gel fiber matrix. It doesn't get stuck in it, but it gets trapped, so it takes longer to absorb your food as it goes down the intestinal tract. And so you get better value from your food. It's absorbed over a longer period of time, and you never have that blood sugar spike and crash like you normally have after a meal. You get hyperglycemia than hypoglycemia. With the fiber, you just get a nice absorption and it balances out. And my hands, I'm like talking with my hands, but you can't see my hand. Yeah, you get a nice spike, your blood sugar comes up slowly and then stabilizes. It just stabilizes across. And we've seen that in clinical studies where we've seen a reduction in blood sugar, fasting blood glucose, and a reduction in HbA1c. In fact, if you're working with a diabetic or anyone that's monitoring their blood sugar values, have them take the fiber the very first time they take the fiber before dinner, because just that next morning, they'll have lower fasting glucose. So it gives them immediate belief in the product, because they can't believe it. Just the next day, they've already had lower blood sugar levels. But yes, that's it. And the zeolite helps with that to become a nutritional enabler, because the zeolite is pulling out toxins from your food, from your gut, pulling out toxins that can be competitive to uptake with the good nutrients.
Oh my goodness, we're all going to be more healthy, aren't we?
That's the plan. That is the plan. So what's the consistency of the Plus Energy? Plus Energy is a liquid. It's a shot. So it's got a little bit of mouthfeel, primarily from the sorbitol, but it's really just a drink, you know, so it's water consistency. Okay, so this is an interesting thing. So it talks about the adaptogenic compounds that the body utilizes. And it's true. The body has its own adaptogens to try to monitor and maintain that stress reaction. But we have a problem. We eat a poor diet. We have a sedentary lifestyle. We actually, over the last 20, 30, 40 years, have reduced those natural adaptogens in our bodies, and we live at a much higher stress level. And part of it is the fact that we're so connected. We have our cell phones and our computers. And like, I try to tell my kids how if I wanted to call a friend, I'd have to go home first and get to a phone to be able to call a friend. You know, there was a gap between communication, which doesn't exist today. And so we're actually at a much higher stress and anxiety level as a race than we've ever been in the history of the world. And that puts a lot of strain on that sympathetic nervous system response. We are now constantly innervating the sympathetic nervous system, and that's causing a lot of problems. Look, anti-anxiety medication is one of the most prescribed medications on the planet right now. And those adaptogens, taking exogenous adaptogens through dietary supplements, through our diet, helps balance that all out. And that's the point of having that in a separate product, because we just don't have enough in our bodies to handle that. Is it like a nectar? No, I said what the consistency was. Okay, so someone's asking about evidence that the Plus Energy helps Alzheimer's. There's a lot of stuff going around now about caffeine and Alzheimer's, things like that, because people are talking about, is caffeine good or bad for you? Understand that the Plus Energy product is a new product. We are going to do studies on it, but the ADX7, the adaptogens in it, have been studied since the 1980s. So most of the research you're going to see in support of the Plus Energy is going to be the ADX7 research, which has been published since the late 70s, early 80s. So lots and lots of research on that. Eventually, we will do studies on this exact product. So we'll have primary evidence of studies with this. I don't know if we're going to study neurofibrillary tangles in Alzheimer's or tauopathies in Parkinson's disease. We might be able to look at some of that stuff, maybe in animal models, but we'll see. What we were quoting earlier is that the caffeine itself has been found to be preventative of Alzheimer's, preventive Parkinson's in several large meta-analysis studies. We talk about, is coffee safe for us or not? Certainly, we're not talking about a lot. We're not talking about 10 cups of coffee a day. We're talking about 1 or 2 cups a day has been shown to actually be improvement of cognitive function, preventive of certain brain disorders or dementias, especially Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's disease. And we can pull all of that research. And they have proven also that it's not coffee per se, it's actually caffeine, because caffeine does increase cyclic AMP production, increase energy also in the brain, and increase overall metabolism because of its mechanism. So yeah, so there's no research of Plus Energy does this stuff, but certainly caffeine can, taken responsibly and consistently. Someone asked about the energy drink being habit forming. No, it's yes, it has some caffeine in it, but caffeine itself, when people talk about they're addicted to caffeine, they really just want to get awake, feel awake. So people that are used to having that giant cup of coffee in the morning, they say, I'm addicted to caffeine. It's not a physical addiction. If they don't get it, they're not going to, they jones for their coffee because they want to get awake. So certainly anything that's going to give you that feeling that you're focused and awake, which includes a healthy breakfast with the fiber, is going to help that. Getting a good night's sleep. Most of the time, I got to tell you, when people call me and say, Rick, I'm just groggy in the morning, I can't move. I'm like, well, tell me about the night before. Well, I'm just talking about my morning. No, tell me about the night before. Well, I had a big scoop of ice cream at about midnight or 12:30, and then I watched TV until 2 a.m, and then I fell asleep at around 2:30. Then I got up at 6 to go to work. Okay, so you ate like crap, you ate bad food late at night when you couldn't metabolize it, and you got 3 hours of sleep. So of course you're going to be tired in the morning. So if you eat better, eat less carbs at night, maybe more proteins at night, and you get a good night's sleep, you're going to have more energy during the day. So these are very basic things we can do to promote general health. And that's why I said at the very beginning of this call, supplements means supplemental to a healthful diet and exercise. So let's get educated and eat right, get a good night's sleep, exercise, don't be so sedentary. And that all this other stuff is going to be the focus, what gives you that extra. What you're going to live longer, be healthier, have less toxins in your body, everything's going to function better, but you got to eat right and exercise as well. Okay. Okay, so someone asked about a product like the Restore from before. So the Restore, I believe, was an electrolyte product, right? It was a
Yeah, it
mineral
was
product.
trace mineral.
So I'm talking to Neil and Doug. We had a product years ago that I formulated that was called Low Oz, and it was like a very high-end Gatorade. It was an electrolytic formula, and it was a low osmolality rehydration drink. And I think we're probably going to do something like that. And we did a lot of studies with that. My wife loved it. My wife, I mean, she talks all the time about me relaunching that product because one of the biggest issues when you talk about sports drinks, well, let's talk about the stages of a sports drink, okay? First, you have to drink it. The hydration, the water has to leave the gut and get into the bloodstream. That's the first step. The second step is it's got to stay in the bloodstream and not to have your body create sweat and urine. So how do you prevent it from being just urinated or sweated out of the body? And the third step is how does that water get into the muscle? Okay, so most sports drinks ignore the first step, getting from the gut to the bloodstream. And I'll talk about that last. To stay in the bloodstream, that's electrolytes. So electrolytes are positively charged compounds, mostly magnesium, calcium, phosphorus. And because they all have a positive charge, they repel. They like charges repel. So because they're repelling, you have so much of this positive charge, the body, the bloodstream, to keep them repelling from each other, needs more liquid, needs more water. Okay, so the more electrolytes you have, the more positive charge you have, the more volume your blood will hold. So it'll stay in the bloodstream. If you just drink water without electrolytes, right away you start sweating, you have to run to the bathroom and urinate. If you have those electrolytes, your body will hold on to that water. And this is funny because remember, Gatorade was called Gatorade because it was originally launched with the Florida Gators football team. And the Florida Gators had a championship season the year Gatorade came out. And all these people said, well, they have their secret weapon. They have their Gatorade, because they could drink it and not have to go to the bathroom. They could drink it and not sweat and need to drink more and more and more and more. They could actually drink less because of the electrolytes. The next thing is there's carbs in it. There's always mixed carbs, because when the muscle glycogen is depleted, and I talked about glycogen earlier, the muscles become carb starved. They're looking for carbohydrates to build more energy, build more glycogen. And so the carbs in the energy drink go into the muscle, and carbs are water attracting, they're sponges. So once the carbs go into the muscle to replenish glycogen, it sucks the water into the muscle. So that's how pretty much all sports drinks work. But some are healthier than others. Some have a lot of sugar in them, and the sugar can be unhealthy. The balance of electrolytes is important. But really, the key is the balance of carbohydrates, because there's something called osmolality. Osmolality is the number of solid intrinsic particles in a liquid. And water will always move from areas of low osmolality to areas of high osmolality. And so if you have a low osmolality drink with fewer particles in it, you'll get better uptake into the bloodstream. And that was a concept of low os. We used long chain maltodextrin carbs that would break down in the body. We had actually an enzyme with it. So it would go into the stomach, the water would go right into the bloodstream very quickly with the electrolytes, and the carbs would chop up and then get absorbed later. And so it did everything a sports drink would do, but it did it better, more efficiently. And the feeling was amazing because you drink a Gatorade, you felt it in your gut. You felt it hit your gut, and it took a while to be absorbed. When you drank the low odds, it felt like your whole body took a drink. It was like, bam, you're like hydrated. It was, you never felt it hit your stomach.
Was that a powder that you added water yourself, Rik?
Yeah, you had to, because the problem with osmolality is once it's in solution, the carbs start breaking down, and osmolality increases because you have more discrete particles. So you have to have it as a powder. You mix it in water, and you have to drink it within 15 minutes, 20 minutes of mixing it, okay, to maintain the low osmolality. So that was the concept with that. And of course, that was over 20 years ago. There have been better versions of that and better science now, better ways to stabilize the mixed maltodextrins, better enzymes. So it would be an interesting product to be the kind of electrolyte blend that we need as part of restoring those electrolytes. Because as you use the cell defender, you're not losing healthy electrolytes, but believe it or not, the heavy metals, the mercury, the lead, cadmium, arsenic, they're charged. So you lose those charges, and it lowers the actual charges in your body by removing those heavy metals. And so it's really wise to replace them with good metals, with good minerals. And so that would be an interesting concept. And we are talking about that. Probably if we launch a product like that, it would be sometime next year, first or second quarter next year. Okay, does caffeine affect natural body energy production? Yes, so caffeine increases what we call locomotion. It's one of those things that increases and spikes metabolism. So that includes energy production, production of NADPH, and production of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So anything that increases locomotion increases energy production. Can energy plus be diluted added to water, or the plus fiber for you? Sure. I mean, the compounds are the compounds. If you want to mix it with something else, you certainly can. So you want to mix it with your fiber, get everything at once. That would be really interesting. I wonder what the flavor would be like. But yes, you can do that. Well, we have sticks of fiber. So we're not looking at sticks. We are looking at pouches. So like a 3x4 inch pouch. So we're talking about that too, because people want to be able to carry the fiber with them. My wife now just puts in a baggie. She goes, you can't beat the baggie, But yeah, it would be nice to look at making it easier. So you have the canister, sits in your counter at home, and you take the little pouches along with you, so you have single doses. So we are looking at doing that. I can't promise you when that's going to be done. But also, if we do buy that pouch filler, one of the other things we're looking at are samples of the Plus Relief gel. Okay, so because the Plus Relief, where the oral spray really does take 5, 6, 7 days to maximize, most people get an almost immediate result from the gel, usually within 20 minutes. So if we could do a little sample pack with 2 ml of the gel in it, where someone could rub it on their hands, their wrists, their elbows, and see an immediate pain relief without a smell, without heat, without cold, without skin irritation, I think that would do a lot to let people sample the product and know that it's something that's going to be highly effective. So we're talking about having those and it wouldn't be something where people would carry them around to use, because the bottles are small enough to carry around to use. This is something you could hand out and let people try. Okay. How does the energy shot and fiber affect the A1C? So energy shots, the energy shot's not going to have any effect on blood sugar or A1C, not any profound effect, especially because it's not something you're supposed to really use every day. The energy shot, there's going to be you're buying a 6-pack, and you use it when you want to get focus and clarity and energy. The fiber, of course, lowers A1C. And we talked about this because every time we eat, food gets absorbed quickly. And when the food gets absorbed quickly, you have this spike in blood sugar. And then your body, glucose comes in, glucose grabs the, insulin grabs the glucose in the bloodstream, pulls it into the cells, and your blood sugar drops. And that's why, I talk about this on stage, anybody that has a desk job, and right around 3:30, 4 o'clock, you just start to fall asleep at your desk. That's the sugar, that's your sugar crash after lunch. And you're looking for that candy bar in your bottom right drawer. You're hoping it's someone's birthday. There's a cake in the break room, something give you that extra energy or that late day cup of coffee. But that's because of that sugar crash. If you take this fiber before lunch, 10, 15 minutes before lunch, that doesn't happen because your food gets absorbed more slowly. It comes up, and it gets absorbed more slowly, and then it doesn't drop. It actually balances. So prevents what we call postprandial hypoglycemia. So you have plenty of energy as your food gets absorbed more slowly over a longer period of time. And by not spiking blood sugar levels, you have better sugar control. And that's what HbA1c is. Hemoglobin A1c is a measure of your average blood sugar levels over a 3-month period because they turn over every 3 months. So it's really a good measure that you get an HbA1c test, take the fiber for 3 months, and then see what it is at the end of 3 months. I mean, we've only had the fiber a month or so, and there's already people that see their HbA1c coming down. But that's not their true HbA1c because the old stuff is still part of it. They haven't turned over yet. So they're not seeing what their true HbA1c is. So after 3 months, you're going to see it goes down. And in the published clinical study, which I showed at conference, we saw patients with HbA1cs of 15 and 16 come down to 5 and 6 in a 3-month study. So it certainly can stabilize that HbA1c levels, make you more insulin sensitive. And that helps with everything. That's going to help with weight loss, going to help with body function, and certainly going to help with diabetics. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the sorbitol we have is actually made from corn. It's a corn-derived sorbitol. Someone said, what can help with angina pectoris? Well, we don't get into specific medical conditions, but angina pectoris is a symptom, not a disease. So if we can find out what else is wrong with this patient, we can talk about how to help them. It is pain in the heart. And believe it or not, if you read the homeopathic pharmacopoeia and see the list of what cobra venom addresses, angina pectoris is actually one of the legal claims we can make on the use of cobra venom. Now, the FDA gets in the way because it used to be that if it was in the homeopathic pharmacopoeia, you were allowed to make the claim. And rheumatoid arthritis is also in the homeopathic pharmacopoeia for the use of cobra venom. The problem is that the FDA says over-the-counter drugs can only treat diseases that can be self-diagnosed. Symptoms or diseases can be self-diagnosed. Since rheumatoid arthritis can't be self-diagnosed, it requires a blood test, we can't make that claim for an over-the-counter product. So same thing with angina pectoris. Anything that needs to be a doctor needs to diagnose, we can't make that claim with an over-the-counter product. But it is one of the claims in the homeopathic pharmacopoeia and in Clark's Materia Medica. Okay, someone asked about using monk fruit instead of sorbitol in the energy drink. I really can't for no other reason than the price. Monk fruit costs $470 a kilogram. It's very, very expensive. So we are using the monk fruit and the fiber, but the fiber is not bitter to begin with. The fiber has apple in it and carrot and oats. So the fiber already tastes good. And then we put a natural powdered orange. It's actually dried orange that we put into it. So we only need to add a little bit of sweetener to the fiber. The energy drink has a lot of bitter components. The adaptogens and the guarana are very bitter. So it needs a bitter masking agent, which is a natural bitter masking agent, as well as the sorbitol to sweeten it. I would need to use so much monk fruit. I think, what's our price on that? It's $30 for a 6-pack, right? If I added monk fruit to it, it would be $60 or $100 for that 6-pack. It would just be that expensive to use that sweetener. So I like sorbitol. Sorbitol is certainly not dangerous. It's a 0-calorie natural sweetener. I will, as things come out, if there's I'm looking at low-hanging fruit. I'm looking at some other potential natural sweeteners down the road. But right now, we've just chosen to use sorbitol because that's the most cost-effective, safest sweetener to use for this particular product. Feel free what happened to my A1C. Yeah, so Darren talks about his A1C drop, but the fiber hasn't even been around for 3 months. So he's already getting results over the last 3 months. It's dropped, but he hasn't had a full 3 months of the fiber. So Darren, you can expect Darren your A1C to continue to drop as you use the fiber. So plus energy, we talk about plus energy should last about 5 hours. So if you're planning to go to sleep at 9, 10 o'clock at night, I probably wouldn't take it after 5 or 6. Understand it's not like, because of the L-theanine and the adaptogens, it's not going to make you jittery. It's not going to freak you out. It's just going to give you energy and give you focus. So it shouldn't really interrupt your sleep patterns, but I probably wouldn't use it later than about 6 o'clock at night or around dinner time, because it will basically, even if you're focused, you don't want to go to sleep. You want to be productive, so and I'm that guy. I don't sleep a lot, but I'm most productive after my wife goes to sleep. I get up on the computer, I write. I wrote my whole book between midnight and 2 in the morning every night, my last book. That's when I was most productive. Mostly because no one's calling me, no one's emailing me, and no one's awake in the house. I'm alone and able to focus. So even when you're focused, you feel like you want to be productive, you might not want to go to sleep. So I probably wouldn't take the energy shot after about 6 o'clock at night. Let's see. Yeah, the Plus Fiber is gluten-free. All of our products are registered gluten-free. Remember that gluten is not fiber. Gluten are the family of gliadin proteins, which are the sticky components found in flour and in fiber products. In plant products like oat, but this is oat fiber. It's just the fiber. It has none of the proteins in it, so it does not have gliadin, and the fiber product is gluten-free, so you can feel safe to use it. Okay. How am I doing?
Fantastic. Looks like one more, adrenal fatigue and the energy shot.
Yeah, so adrenal fatigue is actually caused by a hyperactive sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is always on, so the adrenals are always pumping out adrenaline and other metabolites, and so you get adrenal fatigue. It wants to shut down because it's too much. You're just getting it all the time, and so the best thing for adrenal fatigue is adaptogenic herbs that calms it down, that stabilizes it, makes the adrenals start to work more efficiently. So yes, absolutely, someone with adrenal that's been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue would do very well with it.
Well, thank you. That was very informative.
Okay. I did provide my slides to Neil and the guys, so hopefully those should be in the back office shortly. I am working on a white paper for the fiber, and I'm working on a white paper for the energy shot. So it'll be in the next couple of weeks. Those will be uploaded to the back office. So keep checking the back office for marketing material. And the last thing I'm going to say is exactly what I've said every time I talk like this, is I warn people against analysis paralysis. It's great to ask these questions. It's great to have as much knowledge as you can. You don't need to have all this knowledge to be able to share the products. These are safe, effective products that a lot of people are going to benefit from. So just know that if there's a question you can't answer, we can answer that. So reach out to Heath at customer service, reach out to me, Neil, Doug, Chip Littlejohn. Chip knows pretty much as much as I do about pretty much all the products, and certainly the zeolite. And so there's people that you can reach out to, and we're going to do our best to have all of that information available as white papers and master classes people can watch, available in the back office for everybody to be able to focus on, download, and share. So know that that information is out there, that you can feel free to start sharing the products.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay. Oh, did someone say? Someone's asking about I have a 5-hour drive to Denver on Wednesday. Can my Plus be shipped today? No, it's not. The stuff we're still being validated, so it's not going to ship till Monday. So I apologize, Priscilla, but yeah, we started accepting orders on Friday, but the first, I think we already got about 150 orders or 200 orders for the Plus Energy, but it's planned to be shipped Monday afternoon. So it'll go out Monday afternoon, but we don't ship anything till we get all of the validity back, all of the C of A's back. We want to make sure the product is exactly what we say it is, that it's clean, that it's safe, that we don't ship anything that I don't use myself, and I've actually been drinking it a lot. So, so everyone in the office has, because we were playing with the flavor. So everyone in the office has had multiple energy shots for the last week.
Well, looking forward to trying it. Thank you so much for all that you do.
It's my pleasure, Dave. Anything you guys need, just let me know.
All right. Well, let's have another meeting soon.
That's a plan.
Thanks, everybody.